Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I must admit, making videos is actually easy at the moment when Liverpool are playing like this. Absolutely buzzing following that result. Obviously there's a few things that I will want to talk through a bit more when I do the in-depth tactical analysis, which will probably come out tomorrow. But in terms of like literally just what happened today, and my initial reaction is it was a very, very good, solid performance. I think the first sort of 20 minutes, I think we probably expected that Man U were going to come out of the blocks. They were going to look to try and control the game. And I think the way that Liverpool played was to allow that to happen. We were very well set up in our shape. We weren't letting them sort of break through with the lines from us. Perhaps a little bit sloppy in some of our possession, in terms of there was quite a number of turnovers around the centre of the park. But I think once that sort of 20-minute spell that Man United have, where they were probably the more dominant team in terms of bossing possession and things like that, we then started to control the game a lot more. There was a few very interesting changes that I thought came from today's game. The first one being what I noticed when we were allowing, well, maybe not allowing, maybe allowing is the wrong word, but I think we knew the first 20 minutes Man U were going to be the more dominant team. And what we saw was Trent actually further on the right hand side and making more of a traditional sort of back four kind of shape. And then it came a point where we noticed that Trent was actually coming inside to do his inverted fullback role a lot more and doubling up as a double pivot in the middle. And then Liverpool were able to take a lot more control over the game. They looked a lot more comfortable in possession. They looked like they were going to be like creating those little combinations that they do so often. And I think that really sort of happened from the moment that Trent was inverted. I think Gravenberch, in my opinion, his position was very different to what we've seen so far. So obviously we're used to him being kind of the number 6, you know, sitting in front of the back four, receiving possession, doing that little half turn that he does, and then driving the ball forward. But today he was much more than that. At one point he was playing right midfield. At one point he was even over on the left, playing at left midfield. He was winning the ball high up. He was winning it on the halfway line. He was progressing the ball and really driving forward. And obviously this kind of gives us an understanding of exactly what we were looking for when, in terms of actually getting the number 6 that we thought that we wanted. You know, a player who can do that, who can play higher up the pitch, who can win the ball on the halfway line, who's not afraid to take the ball forward. I thought in terms of positions today, McAllister actually looked more like the number 6 than what Gravenberch did. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I really did. I thought the way that every bit of good play seemed to go through him. He wasn't afraid to win the ball back outside their box. He wasn't afraid to drive the ball forward. He looked so comfortable in possession. Like, I think the opening 2 games and the confidence that that's bringing with him, we're really starting to see it now. Everyone was saying that this was the biggest test or the first test. I disagreed with it being the first test because I think, you know, going away to Ipswich, a team that are back in the Premier League, buoyed by their promotion, haven't lost a game in 12 months, was still a test. And the same with Brentford, an established Premier League team who are very tough and physical and hard to break down. That was still a test for us, but this was by far the biggest. How we would handle our first, or Arne Slot's first trip to Old Trafford to play against a Man United team that would be looking, I think, to sort of come out of their shell. Obviously, they've lost their last game. They didn't look great against Fulham, and I felt that this was their opportunity to sort of get their season going. This would have been the kickstart that they wanted and the kickstart they needed in order to be able to sort of really stake a claim this season of where they're currently at. But the way we played, especially after that opening 20-minute spell, once we got the first goal, I couldn't see Man United scoring. Genuinely, I thought we were so dominant in terms of our possession. We were making the right decisions. We wasn't always being very gung-ho. There were times where we win the ball back quite, you know, high up, but then we weren't afraid to knock it back to the centre-backs and then start, you know, recycling the ball and playing it around. Szoboszlai, his position was also very interesting in my opinion. Normally we see him posted up on the right hand side. Today we saw him a lot more on the left hand side. And then in the second half, he went back over onto the right. But overall, just absolutely thrilled with the result. I think Man United realistically had one very good chance, and that was the Xerxes header. Other than that, I think they had the Kobe Mainu shot, I think it was, that went through Van Dijk's legs. But other than that, they didn't really have anything. They didn't really offer us anything to sort of test us. I thought Trent, at times, I don't think he looked the best defensively, but then he really started to come into it a bit more in the second half with his battle against Rashford. Rashford done nothing in the game, and I think that's more of a credit to Trent than anybody else. Overall, absolutely buzzing with the result. I thought we played absolutely fantastic. Obviously, Luis Diaz continuing doing that one thing now that we've been asking for, and that's getting the consistency with his goal contributions. And 2 goals today, which, by the way, I must say, Szoboszlai ducking out the way for that header was really, really good to see. Obviously, that awareness of the player coming in behind him and that knowledge to just get himself out of the way. I think Szoboszlai could and should have scored a 4th. Watching the game on Sky Sports, they were very, very critical of Szoboszlai, saying that he was showing off and being unprofessional. But I think he saw the player coming in and tried to just cut it inside to try and take that player out of the game. Could he have shot first time? 100%. And it probably would have been a goal as well. And ideally, in an ideal world, he takes that chance. And then Liverpool win the game 4-0, which would have put us top of the league. But other than that, 3 games, 3 clean sheets, 3 wins. It's just a very, very positive start to the season. I thought we were absolutely brilliant. I really did. Obviously, a lot of nerves coming into this game, not only because it's Man United versus Liverpool, but following on from the transfer window and the disappointment that we had there. Obviously, what people probably don't realise at the time is the amount that rides on a game like this for the fans. Obviously, if Liverpool lose, then the transfer window looks 10 times worse, because where do we go to improve on a particular performance? But then when we actually go and win a game, but not just win the game, we controlled the game like a 3-0 away win at Old Trafford. I think that makes Arne Slot the first manager to win his opening game at Old Trafford since, I think it's Paisley, but it could be Shankly. It's one of those two. I can't remember which one. Since the 70s. So obviously, so much to take away from that game that I think was really, really good from our behalf. Defensively, looked solid. A few ropey bits towards the end of the game, mainly. I don't know whether it was more us being relaxed, knowing that okay, we've got the win now. But the last 10 minutes was when they kind of started creating 1 or 2 chances. A lot of them wasn't really troubling for us, but then a lot of them. But then the Xerxes header was really the main one that could and probably should have been a goal. I realised he was quite close to the goalkeeper and it wasn't an easy chance for him. But still, you'd expect a striker in that position to really do a lot of damage. There was also the chance as well where I think Rashford whipped the ball in and then he kind of slid and it hit his heel and then went wide. But other than that, nothing really of note. From a Liverpool point of view, I thought attacking-wise, we looked fantastic. I thought some of our one-touch passes, some of our movement, there was a little bit on the right-hand side, and I think it was Trent, Gravenberch, and Salah, and they were just like little one-touches into each other, and you could just hear the fans olaying. And we do this in games, and I don't know if, obviously, I've seen Slot's interviews, and he says this isn't trained, but there just comes a point where Liverpool just kind of turn on this kind of flair, where it's like one touch, one touch, one touch, one touch, one touch. And we look so good when we do it. And I'm actually genuinely looking forward to the moment that we get a goal from doing that kind of play. I think it will be very, very good. Other things that I noticed was the players and their positions. I noticed Salah back defending a lot more. I noticed Diaz coming back and helping out in defence a lot more. I noticed at the end of the game, I think Tsimikas got caught against his defender, against Ahmad, and as a result of that, Darwin it was then that came back, won the ball, and put it out for a corner. There was a lot about this team and the way that we're playing that not only as a fan of the football club, but also a fan of football and certain footballing tactics, made me very, very happy. And I just love watching the way that we play. And with Arne Slot, I think there were times with Jurgen Klopp, well, the majority of Jurgen Klopp's career, to be fair, is that he had his style of play, and we kind of knew what Liverpool were going to be doing pretty much throughout the whole game. Whereas Slot, he makes these little tweaks and these little changes, and sometimes they go unnoticed. But I don't know what he's thinking when he makes them. So, for example, Szoboszlai featuring more on the left-hand side, and then the slight change in Gravenberch's position today compared to previous games. Like the way that he's picked out those little changes, and they actually are changes that have maximum effect. So it's something that, as a Liverpool fan, it's really, really good to see that we're not going to be relying on just one style of play. The way that we beat Ipswich isn't the way that we're going to go out and play against every other team. So I'm really, really liking the way that Liverpool are playing at the moment. I did predict that obviously the game would finish 2-0, and I was wrong. 2-1. And I'm absolutely delighted to be wrong on this occasion. A 3-0 win. But other than that, yeah, there's not really much to take away from it. I don't think any player had a bad game for us. There was a few players, I think Robertson was a lot more defensive-minded than attacking-minded in this game. We didn't really see him getting that far forward. And I think that probably coincides with the change in Szoboszlai's position. So Szoboszlai moving across was probably more designed to help get the most out of Diaz, whilst allowing Robertson to stay back and defend, which makes a lot of sense to me. But then with Gravenberch's position being more on the right-hand side, he was there helping out with Trent and with Salah to try and build upon that right-hand side. And I thought that worked really, really well today. It enabled, obviously, Robertson to stay back and to keep us with a more solid defensive shape, and allowed us to also attack with numbers. I think if you look at the first goal, when Gravenberch intercepted the pass from Casemiro on the halfway line, we then suddenly had a 5-on-3. So Man U probably felt in that moment that they were comfortable with the ball, but then as soon as they lost it, they're in a very, very vulnerable position, like almost instantly. And I think that's a feature of what we're going to see. Still, at times, seeing a lot of players posted up in and around their box. Sometimes 6-7 players were really sort of penning them back and trying to force the mistakes out of them. And we did. There was a lot of times where we forced the mistakes out of them. So, obviously, the two notable ones from Casemiro that both led to goals. The second one was we won the ball back. Obviously, I think it was Luis Diaz won the ball back off him, and then straight away back in, and then on the counter attack, and then going to get that second goal. We just looked sharp, hungry, more up for it. I think Man United, they had the opening sort of 20 minutes, then they almost looked like they'd burnt out. They looked a bit more. They just didn't really offer anything after the opening sort of 20 minutes. And then when I think Liverpool kind of said, okay, we'll settle now for a 3-0, and maybe if we have the opportunity of counter-attacking them to pick off and get more goals, then Man United looked a little bit more dangerous, and they had a few opportunities. But throughout from the moment that first goal went in, we were just the dominant team by far. So yeah, going back to it, I think Gravenberch was my man of the match. I know normally when a player like Luis Diaz scores 2 goals, you would give him man of the match, and I don't think that I think on Sky they gave it to Luis Diaz. I wouldn't necessarily say that's wrong, but I think Gravenberch, the way that he played in that game for me was absolutely phenomenal. I think that he really took the game by the scruff of the neck. He was winning the ball on the halfway line. He was winning the ball higher up. He was driving forward. He was making the right decisions a lot of the time, rather than trying to force passes or trying to shoot from ridiculous angles, or trying to find opportunities like that. He instead was actually making the right decision in those final thirds, whether it was a layoff to Salah or whether it was like trying to get the ball into the box somehow, or sometimes just knocking the ball across to, say, a Szoboszlai or a Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think that for me, he was the man of the match. But again, at the same time, there's not one player that I can realistically say I don't think they played well. I think every single player who wore the Liverpool shirt today had a good game. I think I would like to see going forward some more minutes from Darwin. I think, giving him sort of the last 10, 15 minutes is fine. But I think Jota was quiet for large parts of the game, and I thought that this would have been a good opportunity. I remember thinking at the time, this would be a good opportunity to perhaps get Darwin on for like 30 minutes, and let's just see what he can do, see if he can grab himself a goal. But yeah, ultimately, you can't really ask for more on a Sunday afternoon than that. Love the way that the Liverpool fans were singing the Arne Slot song as well. Really getting behind the team. Really, really happy with it. But yeah, anyway, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of the game? What did you think of the performance? And more importantly, who was your man of the match? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If you enjoy the kind of content that I'm doing, hit the subscribe button and tick the bell to be notified when I next upload. I am looking to do more videos coming out going forward now the transfer window is shut. That will be more delving into, say, the Liverpool tactics. Obviously, I'll have a tactical breakdown coming out for you tomorrow in reply to this game. And also, I'm thinking about setting up some live streams as well, where we can actually, or at least I can actually join in the discussion with you guys as well, where you can let me know your thoughts on certain topics and so on and so forth. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll speak to you all next time. Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon.